Kia ora koutou, Mick Coultard Community Coaching Club Lead for Sport Waitakere. Welcome to part 3 of a 4-part series of attracting and retaining volunteers. Part 1 was around what's the narrative that we use to attract volunteers. Part 2 was around understanding the volunteer, and today I'm going to talk briefly to you about the quality experiences that we provide volunteers. So what is that experience that we provide a volunteer when they put their hand up to say, you know what, I'm prepared to help? We talk a lot about players and coaches and things like that and the experience that we provide them, but hey, let's not forget our volunteers. I'd like to go back to our last session where I talked about what motivates people, and we think about autonomy, mastery and purpose, or autonomy, mastery, or wanting to improve and getting better, and purpose, or connectedness and belonging. And so how do those three things relate to providing a quality experience for volunteers? If we look at autonomy, how can you provide, as an organisation and a club, systems and structures where you can say, hey, we'd love you to volunteer, but here's a whole heap of information about what the outcomes that we're trying to achieve and what we'd like you to see happen with this role. And so that person can go, right, I need to achieve them, I know what I need to do to achieve them, and they're left to do it as best they can. Obviously check in and all those types of things, part of that quality experience, being connected I guess as well, because these three things do intertwine. The next one is how do we, mastery. So how can we find, who do you know in your membership, in your community, that are good at something? And so is there a role that you could give them that plays on what they're good at? Alternatively, if you've got people that just want to volunteer but they might not be an expert in that space, what opportunities do you give them to grow and develop in that space? I go to coaching again, and what coach development plan do you have? What does your code offer in developing coaches? And that's not necessarily the code specific stuff, because we can find that in most places, but what do you do to support them in coaching and providing quality experiences for their players? Alternatively, governance training, or your volunteers on the committee or on the board, what opportunities have they got to grow and develop their leadership for others, and just general leadership skills and understanding what a governance role really is all about. So they're just a couple. You know, there's finance, there's marketing, media. What are those opportunities to develop? Lastly, purpose. People will buy into a why, and I've mentioned this last time. People will buy into a why more so than a what. So does the role, or does the club's vision or the club's purpose align with a volunteer's purpose and why? On top of that, another couple of words I use along purpose is connectedness and belonging. So how do we connect our volunteers together? Coaches, how do we get our coaches together? We can get quite siloed as a coach. I know I'm going back to coaches again, but that's they're a big chunk of our volunteers. But how do we then also, our other volunteers, how do we get them and show them, hey look, this is what you're contributing to, and celebrate their little successes as they go along. That said, how do we acknowledge and celebrate our volunteers? I had a conversation recently with someone and they said to me, Mick, it doesn't have to be flash, it just has to be genuine. On that note, I'm going to leave it there. What are you doing in your club to acknowledge your volunteers genuinely? I hope that's been helpful. If you want to get in touch and explore any of these things further, please do. Until next time, ka kite.